Now, let's see the introduction about the author. E. Cumming was born on October 14, 1894 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. When he was 8 years old to 22 years old, he wrote one poem daily. Okay, he started writing poetry at his early age, at his young age, from 8 years till 22 years. He wrote daily one poem. Okay. Is it clear? Okay. Daily he used to write one poem. He wrote poems and played with other children in his neighborhood. His childhood was very graceful. He used to draw, he used to write poems, he used to play with children in his neighborhood. Okay. Freehand drawing became a habit, and he did it throughout his life. That is freehand drawing. He became expert in drawing. Okay, and it has become a habit, and he did in his throughout. That is in his whole life. Is it clear? Okay. Company of his parents, friends William James and Josiah Royce, who were both philosophers. That is the company of his parents, that is James and Josiah Royce, they both are philosophers. Okay, it also make him to do his work done. Okay, is it clear, ma? Then his father purchased a farm. Do you know what is farm, no girls? Okay, called Joy Farm. That farm name is Joy in New Hampshire. The place Hampshire, where he used to enjoy a lot by cutting woods, long walks, riding his bicycle, and etc. Is that clear? In his farm, he used to do what are all the things? That is, he used to cut woods, he used to go for a long walk, and he used to ride a bicycle. Is it clear, ma? Okay. Next, his family. His family was Edward Cummings, sociology professor. That is, his father was a Edward Cummings, sociology professor in Harvard University. His father was a sociologist, that is a professor of sociology in Harvard University. Unitarian clergyman. His mother was Rebecca Cummings. He spent time with children, introduced poetry to Cummings. Is it clear? It was his mother who introduced poetry to Cummings. Sister Elizabeth Cummings. Okay, he has one sister. Education. E. Cummings graduated from Harvard in 1915 and received his Bachelor of Arts degree. Okay, in 1915 he received his Bachelor of Arts degree, and in 1916 he earned his Master of Arts degree. He majored in classics and English. What is majors? That is, we used to say our major, no, that is allied, fiction, drama, like that. His major is classics and English. Okay. Then poetry. Inspired by Pound's poem The Written, he began to experiment with spacing and typography. Later on, his signature became lack of capital letters, creative placing of punctuation. Some of his poems didn't even make sense. Then E. Cumming was a poet, painter, novelist, playwright, and lecturer. Okay, he was a multi-talented person. Okay, he had multi-talented personality throughout of his life. He is not only a poet, he is a painter, novelist, playwright, and lecturer. Then he had marriages, that is 3 marriages. Okay, Elaine Orr, who actually left her husband to be with Cummings, lasted only 6 months, and Barton lasted a few years. Maureen Morehouse, actress, model, photograph, for and lasted the remainder of his life. Had a daughter named Nancy in his first marriage. That is, he married three times. That is, one Elaine, who has left him. It is they lived only 6 months. Okay, and Annie Barton a few years, and Marion Morehouse lived with him till his last breath. Okay. Then he had a daughter named Nancy with his first wife. Okay, in his first marriage. Is that clear, ma? Okay. Then awards and recognition. In 1950, he earned the Academy of American Poets Fellowship. In 1951 and 1952, received Guggenheim Fellowship. In 1953, he was Charles Eliot Norton Lecturer at Harvard. In 1958, he earned Bowling Prize. In 1959, he received a grant from the Ford Foundation. Is it clear? Okay. Then death. He died of cerebral hemorrhage at Joy Farm on September 3rd, 1962. That is, he died on Joy Farm, which is purchased by his father. He was buried in Forest Hill Cemetery in Boston. This is the graveyard. Okay, grave of Cummings. Later on, his wife Maureen died in 1969 and was buried alongside Cummings. Okay, after his third wife, when she died, she also buried alongside Cummings. Is that clear, ma? Any doubts you have? Okay, now we will see the poetic lines. Here you have the poetical lines. See, there is no rhyme scheme, there is no meter, and there is no, it is in a blank verse. That is, there is no following of the rules of poetry. Okay. Here, among crumbling people. What is crumbling? What is crumble? Do you know what is crumble? Okay. We'll say what is crumble. It is a pieces, like fall aparts. Here he says about people who crumbles, that is fall apart from their daily routine, from their life. They are not able to survive. Okay, they crumble, that is they fall apart in pieces. Is it clear? Okay, here the poetry is also crumbling. It is like pieces. Okay, you see, among, that is A in the first line, and among crumb in the second line, bling people in the third line. Like, yes or no? Okay, and like that the poetry is also crumbling. Is it clear? That is falling apart in pieces, small pieces. Is that clear, ma? Can you differentiate? Okay. Now we'll go with the poetry. You just listen carefully. Among crumbling people, along ruined streets, hither and softly, thither between tumbling houses, as the knowing spirit prowls its nose, whinus before a dissonance of rise and forces, until finding oneself at some distance from the crooked town, a harbour fools the sea, while A man entering the triple-stayed hotel Dogolf, that notable structure or ideal edifice situated are established far from the noise of waters. One's eye perceives as the ego approaches painfully sterilized contours within which ladies and gentlemen under glass are asking each oath, rap, burr, questions. Can you understand what is the poetry is about? Can you identify what he is telling? Can you imagine about what he is telling? Do you know, girls? Okay, here he is telling about one of the crumbling of America in one place. He is telling that he is strolling in the street in somewhere in this place of the America where the war has taken, where the people has crumbled, that is destroyed everything, that is their belongings, their shelters, their homes. Okay, now what is telling that when I was strolling in the street, that is strolling, walking, that is in a leisure time and a free time, we used to walk, no, that is okay. When he was walking, he is seeing one ruined street, that is it is because of the war. Okay, he is telling that the street was destroyed completely, and the people, the poor people, he says that the poor people is not having shelter, that is a home or a room to live with, and they don't even have the requirements, that is the daily basis things. Okay, what is the daily basis? No, the basic things, that is water, bread, yes or no, clothes, right? That also they don't have. Okay, after some time he is walking to the seaside, that is in a harbor, where he says that they were having rich people. Okay, by walking some distance in the harbor, that is seashore, where he sees rich hotels and the rich people. Okay, where they are playing golf and they are eating, they are enjoying there without the noise of the poor people, without their thinking about the poor people, the other street, what the people is doing. Okay, they are ignoring, they are avoiding those people. Okay, painfully sterilized contour, sterilized, that is we can say without any bacteria, sterilizing, is it clear? Within which ladies and gentlemen under glass are asking each or Arab questions, that is he is crumbling here, that the question marks. Okay, is it clear? Okay, now we will have the explanation. Okay, Cummings' modernist style, that is his style of writing. E. Cummings is remembered for his splendid love poems with their sensuous use of language and his visual inventiveness. Okay, he used to write about love. Okay, and he uses sensuous language, and he invented, okay, those style. His style is modern. He is a highly innovative writer and painter. This because from the age of 8 he started drawing, he started writing poetry, so that he is a highly innovative writer and painter. He borrowed concepts from the world of modernist paintings. He is widely known for his unconventional use of syntax, punctuations, capitalizations, and typography. Okay, art and technique of printing. For him, words in a poem are visual object and the white page is the canvas. Is it clear? Canvas, in that page they used to paint. Okay. As a result, throughout his work, Cummings wanted to infuse his poetry with a sense of wonder and awe to incite experiences and emotional reactions in readers without any intention to hide secret meanings. Experiencing a poem was much more important for him than analyzing or understanding a poem. That is, experience is the most important thing, he says. He says about poetry as, don't try to enjoy it, let it try to enjoy you. He says about poetry is that don't try to enjoy it, don't try to enjoy the poetry, let it try to enjoy you. The poetry should enjoy you. Okay, don't try to understand it, let it try to understand you. That is, don't try to understand the poem should understand you. Is that clear? Okay, this is the most important thing, ma. You have to note down. Is that clear? Okay. That is the last 3 lines about experiencing poem. That is the most important thing. Is it clear? Okay. Now we will have the explanation. When the poem begins, the poet is strolling in the streets of America, witnessing the people who are crumbled. Now, I told you before itself, that is, the poet is strolling. That is a leisure walk in a free time. Okay. And witnessing the people. Witnessing, he is seeing the people of America who were crumbled. Crumbled, scattered apart because of the war. The scene of the victims troubles him. By seeing those people, he is much worried. Okay. The war not only caused a loss for possessions, but also a loss for physique and psyche. That is, the body as well as the mind. Is that clear? As well as the soul. As a result, they are drawn to streets and lead their life in the streets without shelter. Now, because of the war, in that war, they have lost their houses. Okay, because of that, now they are living in the street without any shelter. The household roof is hanging in the air as a symbol of the spirit of the poor. Okay, it also denotes that the house wings and cries towards the rich and the powerful people for their apathetic attitude to the poor. That is, they are least bothered about the poor people. Okay. Passing through the streets of the crooked town, he nears the seashore and finds people at some distance in the harbor. The harbor, a symbolic representation of the shelter place of the rich, seems to be ignorant of the cry of the poor. Okay, before itself I told you that passing through some distance, he comes to know, that is in the seashore, in the harbor side, the rich people are enjoying and avoiding the poor people, ignoring the cry of the poor. The rich people fool the sea as they are ignorant to the cries of the people, as they are protected from the ruin, that is destroy. They hear nothing of the cries of the lower class as a result of the attitude of the rich. The poet feels that sympathy of the upper class is sterilized. It is sterilizing from the bacteria or something else. Okay, their unconcern seems to be a sterilized counter of the inhuman. It incites the poet as one's ego emerges when he is brutally victimized. In the hotel, the noblemen and women are consuming alcohol by a glass. It also denotes that it is also a question mark. Okay, instead of taking care of the poor, they are enjoying their own life. Now, the pitiable, crumbling people. When the poem begins, the poet is strolling in the street of the America, witnessing the people who are crumbled. The poor and middle class people are the victims of the World War II. The fall of the American economy and the Great Depression have ruined their day-to-day life. While strolling towards a hotel in the harbor of a sea, the scene of the victims troubles him. The war not only caused a loss for possessions but also a loss for physique and psyche. As a result, they are drawn to the streets and lead their life in the streets without shelter. These shelterless victims inside the poet's humor. The milieu of the victimized is pitiable. It distresses the poet profoundly when he passes through the ruined streets and broken houses. The household roof is hanging in the air as a symbol of the spirit of the poor. It seems that the house whines and cries towards the rich and the powerful people for their apathetic attitude to the poor. It also denotes apparently that the poor who lives in the house make loud whines out of the distress and anguish. Passing through the streets of the crooked town, he nears the seashore and finds people at some distance in the harbor. The harbor, a symbol representation of the sheltered place of the rich, seems to be ignorant of the cry of the people. That is the rich people's unconcern. The rich people is not bothering about they are least bother about the poor people. Okay, the rich people fool the sea as they are ignorant to the cries of the people, who are represented through the image of the wavy sea, as they are sheltered and fortunate as they are protected from the ruin. They hear nothing of the cries of the lower class, while the lower class people are agonizing for a lack of shelter and livelihood. Now, that is the unconcerns. Here he shows about the unconcerns of the rich people. They think that they are fortunate. Okay, they are protected from the ruin, that is destroying. Okay, but they have to think about the agony, the pain of the lack of shelter and livelihood about the lower class people. So the upper class people are entertained themselves in a triple-star hotel of the harbor, which symbolizes the luxurious and lavish life of the rich. Instead of feeling for them, instead of showing concern about the poor people, what they are doing? The upper class people are entertaining themselves, enjoying themselves in a triple-star hotel in the harbor, in the seashore, which symbolizes the luxurious and lavish life of the rich people. Is that clear? Social inequality. The indifferent attitude of the rich displays the social inequality of America. The poor are victimized due to war. They are unemployed and find no means to elevate their life. Here, that is inequality he is saying about the America, that is the poor and the rich people. Because of the war, they don't have anything, they are unemployed, and they don't have anything to run their daily life, whereas the rich are enjoying themselves out of the fortune derived from the working class. Okay, as a result, there prevails a social disharmony. They proves that there is a social disharmony. The lower class people are attempting to better themselves, but their efforts are in vain. That is, there is no use. They are not cared, they are untouchable. That is, the lower class people are attempting to become better, and they are putting much effort to become something, but it goes in vain. That is, it is not in use. Okay, no use. So they are not cared because they are untouchable, because they are not heard by the rich people. Is it clear? Okay, they sterilize the rich. There is, as a result of the attitude of the rich, the poet feels that sympathy of the upper class is sterilized. Their unconcern seems to be sterilized, counter of the inhuman. The world of the rich is unconcerned towards the cry of the poor, who seek shelter and aids. The lavish life of the rich and their unconcerned pains the poet. The insides the poet as one's ego emerges when he is brutally victimized. Is it clear, ma? While the lower class people are in agony, in a pain, and leading a miserable life, very poor, the wealthy people stayed at a hotel, and the noble men and women are consuming alcohol. They are enjoying their life. They are amusing themselves perching under a glass house, which can enable anyone to witness the happenings of the outside world. Now they are sitting in the glass house, okay, where they can witness the happenings of the outside of the world. Though they notice the oaths of the poor, that is, the cries of the poor, they are not concerned. Even though they know that about the poor people, they are least bother. They are not concerned. They just engage themselves in amorous talk. That is, they themselves engages with them, okay, with their talks. Hence, they are asking each other rubber questions. Okay, that is rubber questions. Now, it is like, do you know what is a rubber band? You know how it is. Like that, they are asking questions with each other. Is that clear? Okay, here the conclusion. Thus, the poet emotively, that is emotionally, depicts the indifferent attitude of the rich towards the crumbling people. That is, here he shows emotionally, he says about the rich people attitude towards the crumbling people. Crumbling people, poor people. Okay, it represents the upper class people's attitude during the Great Depression of America. The upper class just exploited the labor force, failing to render basic requirements for their survival. Is it clear? That is, they are least bothered about the daily requirements of the poor people. Okay, if they think they can help them, instead of helping them, what they are doing? They are going and they are entertaining themselves they are staying in the hotel. They are enjoying, but instead of helping. Okay, is that clear, ma? Here he shows the concerns about the poor people, and he wants that the economy should be equal, and he says about the social inequality also. Is that clear, ma? Okay, this is the end of the poem. Hope you have understood well. Okay, that is the crumbling street, just a blur image of that. Okay, that is the crumbling of America. Okay, girls, hope you have understood well. If you have any doubts, please do ask in comment, girls. Then only I can understand that you have understood well or not. Something you have to comment. Okay, is that clear, ma? Okay, girls, thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye. Allah Hafiz.